All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
All right, Cody, tell us, what is going on today? What is the latest, greatest?
Well, today, the news of the last kind of 48 hours, I would say, in the campaign for the most part, has been the fact that Billionaire, and not just Billionaire, I don't want to say super billionaire, but big time billionaire, Michael Bloomberg is entering.
Benedict Arnold billionaire.
Yeah,
Okay, keep going.
I'm not as invested personally, I guess, in this as you are. Anyway, Michael Bloomberg is he's probably going to run for the 2020 Democratic primary ticket. I believe he's looking to file. I don't know if he's actually filed yet, but a lot of people are talking. A lot of people are asking a couple of things. I'm sure people in chat will say, and I'll be right there with you, who's Michael Bloomberg? Michael Bloomberg is a billionaire. He is worth, I believe, tens of billions. Depends on who you ask. I've seen 50 billion. I've seen 80 billion.
He's up there with Trump and
Tens
Steyer.
of billions. No, more than Trump. I think he's worth more than Trump. He's worth more than Steyer. He would be the richest person running.
Okay.
Actually, as an aside to kind of break it down, this was a Twitter account I like called MSDNC. It's a satire news site. They tweeted this out. This would be your current power rankings determined by net worth. So it'd go Bloomberg, Steyer, my man Delaney, and then Michael Bennett, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris.
Michael Bennett? Interesting. Okay.
Ever wonder why Delaney and Bennett haven't dropped out yet? Because they're like, why? They're super rich. They don't care. They'll just burn a couple mil and then go home. Whatever. I got some extra publicity. But anyway, the reason why I want to talk about a little bit about the net worth of Steyer and all that stuff is because, first of all, Andrew Yang over the last couple of days done a couple interviews with CNN where he actually spoke a little bit about kind of Michael Bloomberg into the race. Living in New York, I believe, while Bloomberg was mayor, or at least around then, Andrew talks about being familiar with him. He's known him. He thinks he's a great guy. But he brings up some interesting points about what he thinks as far as the success of a presidential run could be. So give me 1 second. I'll get this clip going for you guys right here.
If I can get your reaction to this really big news, which is that Michael Bloomberg and his $50 billion filing paperwork to enter the presidential race. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm friendly with Mike, and he's a great philanthropist, was a really stellar mayor. But I will say it's going to be very, very difficult for him to jump in right now and somehow replace the thousands of conversations that many of the candidates have had with voters in New Hampshire and Iowa and around the country with ad buys. There are limits to what money can do. We're seeing some of the limits of what money can do with other candidates. And so.
And right there, exactly. I think that is a good point he brings up right there, is that, there's only so much being a billionaire can do for you. At a certain point, we've seen, like I just highlighted in that list, Delaney and Bennett aren't killing it in the polls, and they're both extremely wealthy. Now, even with that,
even Steyer, dropping 300,000 on average per month.
Steyer's made to a debate that Tulsi Gabbard didn't make it to. So Steyer actually is doing pretty well for himself with his money,
but that's like
which is the scary end. But
that's comparing a guy with a batting average of 100 with a guy with a batting average with 102.
Well, I also think that's kind of the ceiling of burning millions. I think the ceiling of burning all your money is relative. Like you'll hit the thresholds in key states by very wisely spending your money to show up at the debate. But I don't know if you're gonna win an election. And especially, we can do a whole other video about the history of Michael Bloomberg. You brought it up a little bit. Former Republican for a while. I believe it was 2016 or 17. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where he actually registered as a Democrat to kind of prepare for this run.
Yeah, but he was governing like a Democrat long before he registered as one. Yeah. Well, outlawing sodas. He outlawed religious worship in private schools. Like I said,
another video. Yeah. We'll spend a whole video clowning on him. But this was really interesting. I don't know how many of you guys remember this this article that came out, the story that came out in CNBC. They covered it more heavily than anyone else. September, I believe, late September. Wall Street Democrat donors warned the party, we will sit out or back Trump if you nominate Elizabeth Warren. Now listen to this quote. Listen to this quote. And I believe this is how people actually felt, and this is why we're seeing potentially his run. Because as Yang mentioned, like, how do you replace 5 months of shaking hands and speaking with people face to face in these states? Listen to this quote. Quote, "You're in a box because you're a Democrat and you're thinking, I want to help the party, but she's going to hurt me," she being Warren. "So I'm going to help President Trump," said a senior private equity executive. The executive said this Wednesday, a day after Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced the West would begin to form. Oh, and then this is reference to Warren's wealth tax and some other aggressive tax measures she'd have for the ultra wealthy. Now, the thing is, why would, I have a question, why would mega billionaire Michael Bloomberg decide to enter this race. AJ brought up a good point. Like, man, like you're just gonna replace 6 months of shaking hands, kissing babies, being in the streets, people seeing your face, being on 5 nationally televised debates. You're just gonna make up for all that being rich? Why would a billionaire? I think I have the answer. I think that CNBC article plus one more thing. There's 2 candidates that really want to aggressively tax wealth and the ultra wealthy in this country. 2. It's Warren and Sanders.
Yeah.
Nobody takes Joe Biden serious. For example, his Iowa campaign manager doesn't live in Iowa and doesn't really care and has never really done anything in Iowa in like a decade. So it's like he doesn't want to win. So we get rid of Biden. Now you have 2 candidates that'll be your front runners. Both have very similar progressive policies. Both want to tax ultra billionaires. Now suddenly, as we're getting to the point in the campaign where it's like, the Buttigieg thing probably ain't going to happen. Harris, she's done for. Like I said, Biden, I still don't believe Biden campaign is 100% real. I think he's still just kind of like, I guess
it's
running.
on autopilot. Yeah, it's strangely on autopilot.
Like he announced that he went to the front runner. He's like, well, I guess I can't just drop out as a front runner, but like I don't want to win.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do? Anyway, why do you think now mega billionaire Michael Bloomberg? Again, I do not believe it's 100%
Oh, because
official,
he's a shark and
but
he
it's
smells
coming.
blood in the water.
Well, do you think hyper-millionaire Michael Bloomberg knows perhaps? Do you think maybe Michael Bloomberg recently went to the Democratic Party from left wing Republican? Do you think maybe he knows some of these Wall Street Democratic donors that actively said they're going to revolt against the party and support Donald Trump if they elect someone like Warren? Do you think they know Michael Bloomberg? Do you think any of them pick up the phone and say, hey, Mike, you notice that these people that want to, we're going to have to either support Trump or, how about this, man? We can support you. Because the only front runners can't support them. They won't take our money.
Yeah, I got two theories running.
But because I thought Yang brought up a good point. And then one last thing I want to bring up. Andrew Yang was asked about the potential, implications of Michael Bloomberg's race in the election. And we'll play a clip right now.
So I think he's going to have his work cut out for him if he jumps in.
What do you think it changes in the Democratic race?
Well, it's probably going to change the price of advertising.
I thought that was cute. I wanted to keep that. I thought that was kind of cute.
Supply and demand, baby.
But, I mean, we saw Steyer buy his way into a debate, and like I said, all of a sudden, sorry, I forgot to mention this, guys. This story came out today as well. Leon Cooperman, who has been battling Elizabeth Warren, says he'll support fellow billionaire Mike Bloomberg for president. Wow, isn't it weird? The guy he's like sort of running for president. He kind of announced he's jumping in the primary 6 months late. He's already got the billionaires. I thought they all like Buttigieg. Not anymore. Now they like this Bloomberg guy. Like you said, he was a interesting Republican, still a Republican nonetheless.
Yeah, but you have to realize, look, no, hold on.
And now he's running as a Democrat, and he's probably going to be getting the big money support. Listen. He's probably going to get big money support.
I haven't been able to interject a single thought.
Okay, well, what do you know about this?
And I've already forgot. What do I know about this? I know a ton about this. I lived in New York shortly after.
Not Bloomberg. I'm saying, why do you think he's running? That's what's interesting.
I know. I got two theories.
What are they?
Well, first off, he has announced candidacy for the presidency multiple times. Similar to Joe Biden, he's a guy that's wanted it for a long time, and he's filed paperwork in so many elections. I've stopped counting.
I know, but
okay,
it looks like he's running in 2020. Why?
Now this time it definitely does seem unique. Well, why? Because he sees a lane. He sees a lane. Most people think that Joe Biden, who's
the billionaire lane, because none of the billionaires want either Democratic frontrunner. Maybe.
No, not the billionaire lane. I think if he markets himself as a moderate and does a better job of doing it than Biden, who's pretty much perceived as going to be dropping out sometime soon, then there's an opportunity. And also, you have to remember, yes, Pete Buttigieg has those millionaires' cash, the $27 million. But don't forget, that's nothing to these billionaires. How much money in the midterm elections did Bloomberg himself spend just on Democrats? He famously announced, that is why I am putting all my money behind Democrats this election. And he dumped, what was it, like 20 million? He dumped the entire net worth of Pete Buttigieg's entire campaign just into supporting Democrats in the midterm elections. Because when you have billions, tens of billions of dollars, all of a sudden numbers like 20 million don't really seem like that much, especially if you're an ideologically or a motivated or a power motivated person, which he obviously is. So he makes more money per year off of Bloomberg Inc. or Bloomberg LLC, whatever his company is. I can't remember. Bloomberg Holdings. I don't even remember the name of his company. But he makes more tens of millions off that company every year than pretty much what the entire Democratic field and all their campaigns is worth.
I know
right
he's
now.
rich, but like, why would a rich guy run for president right now, you think?
Oh, because first off, he could, and you wouldn't want to be president if you could basically do it.
Can I read you the New York Times opinion?
And then B, also, I think you would get heavy support from Wall Street. Heavy support that would dwarf any kind of support anybody else could give.
Why would he get it?
Oh, because they're going to want to protect their ability to make money.
My point exactly.
Because right now, Wells
Exactly
Fargo.
my point, precisely.
Yeah, Wells Fargo, guys, just to give you an idea, Wells Fargo is having difficulty replacing their CEO, and they've basically announced that they won't replace their CEO until the elections are over with, because they want to make sure, like, nobody wants that position the day Elizabeth Warren gets elected, because they know that they're just going to try and tank Wells Fargo and JP Morgan Chase.
Hear this. This is something interesting, and I want to go back and kind of, like you said, the Bloomberg always wants to run or whatever.
Yeah.
Some stuff I kind of just got lost in the shuffle of this crazy cycle. And I'm glad the New York Times brought this up. I'll have the link here, like always, for you guys to read. And they mentioned that Mr. Bloomberg initially bowed out of the 2020 race because of Mr. Biden's apparent strength. But I think he's also noticed he's not running a real campaign, and he's grown skeptical that Biden's on track to win the nomination.
Oh, yeah.
Because his campaign's phony. He's in the red, taking private jets to events that probably aren't going to help him win. What is this guy doing? Anyway, what he also sees is that there's two leading liberals in the race, Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. And he has not seen the strong candidates.
Yeah.
No, it's not even that. These are dude, like I said, the billionaires already said we're going to support Trump instead of Warren. They said this in September. They said, we're either going to support nobody or Warren. Now, after struggling with this for a while, suddenly everyone's realizing the Biden campaign's a sham. He's not going to win. Holy cow, it might be Warren or Sanders. Mega billionaire Michael Bloomberg is planning. He's working to. He's prepping to. Everyone is operating under the impression he is. I mean, people who probably have in the know behind the scenes info are all saying, yeah, he's running.
So I got a question for you when you're done.
Well, it's just, at least I'm done right now. It's just like, this is the crazy thing. I think it's hilarious because Andrew Yang brings up a great point, I think, in this Wolf Blitzer piece he did last night, where he said, getting the chance to meet people over the last number of months, to me, has been the lifeblood of my campaign. And I think it's very hard to substitute that with money. Great point, Andrew. Yeah, why would a guy just jump into a race 6 months later? I know he's rich, but even Tom Steyer didn't wait this long. I get this guy could buy and sell Tom Steyer a few times. He's so rich, but holy cow, man, it's late. The only thing I can see is they're like, holy cow, Biden's going nowhere. We're either going to lose to Trump or get taxed into oblivion. What do you want to do? Let's run Bloomberg out there, is my guess.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that's true. I definitely agree with what Andrew Yang said. And similarly to what Howard Schultz said, that, there's only so much money can do. And you and I, Cody, we've seen this firsthand. I've given this example before, but Steve Knight, our congressman, in his first election after Buck McKeon, the leader of the House Armed Services Committee, retired, there was a race in which the local guy who'd been known in the community had $800,000. He's probably the politician with the least political personality I've ever seen in my life, with the smallest amount of money. I mean, our local state senators have larger war coffers for their elections than this guy had for his congressional run. And with his $800,000, he beat the guy that had the Mitt Romney endorsement, the guy that had the Buck McKeon endorsement, and had $3.2 million, Tony Strickland. All right. So obviously money is necessary, and it's a barometer of a society, just like they say, Ayn Rand said in Atlas Shrugged, that money is a barometer of a society. It's also a barometer of a campaign. But just like you can't 100% accurately predict the weather, just because that barometer drops doesn't always mean lightning. Most times it does, but it doesn't always mean a storm, okay? Just because you have a ton of money doesn't always predict success. However, I think of all the times I've seen Bloomberg run, this is actually probably one of the ones where I give him credit and think there's actually an opportunity, because people forget, and we say, okay, boomer, and we make fun of them, but they come out, they basically rival in size the amount of millennial voters, but they show up like 90% of the time, while millennial voters are not showing up in those same percentages. Okay. So if you're a boomer Democrat and you remember the Cold War against socialism and communism, you remember what it was like back when there was single family households where one income provided you a house and a car and a decent middle class living, and you want that back. Donald Trump tapped into that. This idea that the economic prosperity that you remember, we can return to that. We're going to make America great again. People said it was a dog whistle for racism. That's all BS conspiracy theory crap on the left. But Donald Trump tapped into that. I think Bloomberg could tap into that moderate lane, and this is where Joe Biden missed his opportunity. In his opening campaign video, he tried to be a Trump's a white supremacist, far left activist.
Who?
And Joe Biden.
Oh, okay.
In his opening campaign video, the first thing he did was invoke Donald Trump's white supremacy in Charlottesville, which may work with like the young squad crew, the young SJWs, but bro, they're not interested in backing the establishment dude that's been in the Senate since like 1970 something. Okay. So if Bloomberg were to jump in and he were to market himself as a true moderate, which he actually kind of could, as much as I joke around calling him a Benedict Arnold, all that stuff, he's actually in a good position to say, look, I'm so moderate that I changed parties, you know, and I'm the most conservative.
Does anyone like Michael Bloomberg though?
Oh, does anybody like him? Oh,
the only people I've seen actually speak nicely about Michael Bloomberg are literally this is a
yeah,
great,
but you have to remember, compared to what, Cody? Compared to the low approval rating of Trump, the low approval rating of Elizabeth Warren, the low approval rating of Bernie Sanders.
Here's the thing: you talking about
it's negative.
No, hold on. You're talking about approval rating polls. I'm not talking about approval rating. I'm talking about when I literally communicate with humans. Because guess what? Every candidate people allegedly hate, I communicate with human beings in real life. And I'll talk to someone else, and they'll say, you know what?
Okay, well, here's my question for you.
I've never once heard anyone say they like Michael Bloomberg. I've never heard anyone say they like Bill de Blasio. No one's ever told me.
Well, then here's my question.
I like those guys. I've always heard, who are they? I don't like them. There's some billionaires. Why
I've been wanting to ask this question for the past 10 minutes, and I went down my own rabbit hole. I apologize. His campaign would have to bet on negative partisanship.
Not really.
Okay. It would have to bet on negative partisanship.
I disagree. It doesn't have to.
That's what politics is right now. And it's proven in the
Again,
polls.
I disagree. I don't think that's true.
Well, okay.
I reject your premises.
Okay, well, the stats don't reject it. It was overwhelmingly...
I don't care about your phony stats. I reject it.
They're not phony stats. It's overwhelmingly...
Can't see them?
Yes, we've done a podcast on this and shown the graphs. The negative partisanship...
Give me 10 minutes. I'll find a graph that disproves you. It's an important graph, Simon.
Okay, forget it then. You want to go to the next podcast, or can I finish my sentence?
No, what are you going to say, man? What are you going to say?
Is that negative partisanship decided 2016. People weren't going to vote for Trump. They were going to vote against Hillary Clinton. And people weren't going to vote for Clinton. They were going to vote against Trump. In the 2018 elections, it was considered the revenge of the soccer moms, the revenge of the suburban moms, that the negative partisanship associated with Trump led to this partial blue puddle wave that we got. Even though the Senate actually grew in Republicans, we experienced a big blue wave here in California, and there was a blue wave in the Senate, okay? So negative partisanship is playing a much larger role in politics than it ever has. So the question is, do I think he could possibly, if he marketed himself as a moderate, beat out, because Joe Biden's going to fail, assuming Joe Biden's gone, could he beat out Sanders? Yes. Could he beat out Warren? Yes, especially with large war coffers and Wall Street supporting him. So would he get those boomer Democrats that don't necessarily want to vote Republican because they've been 40 years in the DWP union, but they'll vote for Bloomberg because they're like, well, yeah, you see, at least he's fiscally conservative because he was Republican, right? I think he could actually do that. The question is, could he beat Donald Trump? And that's what a ton of Democrats are going to be thinking. Because there's a lot of Democrats that haven't tuned in yet who are going to be voting on whether or not they think he could beat Donald Trump. Do you think, whether it's negative partisanship or not, do you think he could beat Donald Trump?
Bloomberg, I'd have to see more. As of right now, he's not really running. So I don't know what his campaign is. If I guess he starts thinking more of his campaign, that's why I think those conversations right now are kind of, they're pointless.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
What would he theoretically run on? I don't know. Is he running? I don't think he's announced he actually is. People are just saying he's definitely prepping to. And I'm larger. What my more looking at is why. He said he always wants to run, but why? Because here's the thing.
He just wants power.
But not just wants power. Why is New York Times writing a headline saying Michael Bloomberg actively prepares to enter race? He's expected to file. That tells me the person writing this, someone told him, Bloomberg's running. He will file on this date.
Yeah, it's
and
an
you can't
assumptive
print
headline.
that. No, what I'm saying is there's things you know and you can't print. All I know is if there was some vague rumors Bloomberg might be running, you mentioned this. The guy's always running. Why would there be 50 articles? Why is every candidate being asked? It's because behind the scenes, I think they know. Like, you don't run a story if it's just kind of like, Bloomberg might run. You're like, Bloomberg always might run. Why is this a story? All of a sudden, you're writing stuff like, he's expected to maybe file. Like, I don't know. He's running for sure. Why is he running? I think his billionaire boys said, look, Biden ain't going to cut it. They're going to come for our money otherwise. Yeah. Here's the other thing, too. A lot of these people are Democrat donors, and I think a lot of them, they would just rather not lose the money to Trump. You're saying, can Bloomberg beat Trump? If all the big money comes in on him and all the people that maybe did the same thing with, actually, no, billionaires probably loved Hillary. They're probably like, please win, Hillary.
I was going to say, they were probably loving her.
But I just think it's what we're seeing here, because Andrew Yang, like I said, I like what Andrew Yang said, where he basically says, what are the odds that someone's going to be able to just jump into a race? Even a billionaire like him, like, you can't just jump into a race. I mean, I think he's going to have his work cut out for him, as Andrew Yang says. And
you're right. It's ill-timed.
It's weird, but I want
it's ill-timed.
There's one last meme from MSNBC. Great. Follow him on Twitter. I want to show you guys. This is hilarious. Where Chris Hayes, reporter from MSNBC. He said, "Who will speak for the billionaires?" in reference to multi-billionaires. And then this parody account replied, and they said, "Chris, we pay you $20,000 a day to do precisely that." Which is the truth. That's what scares me about the run. Steyer didn't scare me because he's kind of a clown. These people kind of like Bloomberg, and like you said, they pay people like Chris Hayes thousands of dollars a day to do nothing but defend these people. So it is going to be interesting when we see what happens when mega billionaire Bloomberg, who all the billionaire Democrats are saying we're supporting Trump if Warren wins, are now probably going to be wooed back over to support. I wonder what the coverage of Bloomberg is if he runs, which I have to say, I know journalists love getting scoops and stuff. I have to imagine if this isn't hey, you can run this, he will be announcing in a few days. Just get it out there. We wouldn't see this much of a media cycle. Like you said, Bloomberg's always prepping a presidential run. It's not news that Michael Bloomberg might run for president. But then why is it all of a sudden news that Michael Bloomberg runs for president? I guess my last point there. Anything else you want to say?
No, that's it. I mean, I think we pretty much covered it. But I really want to know what you guys know, because a lot of this, the spectrum of possibilities is really wide open right now. So we'd really like to hear what you guys know. Please comment in the video below. And if you haven't had a chance yet, follow us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1. That's where we do a lot of our announcements. And make sure you check us out on Tuesdays and Thursdays when we stream live on Twitch before we come back to streaming here. And we got a couple of orders for the hats we're throwing out this Wednesday and Friday. If you want to pick up your hat, make sure that you go to problemsolverpolitics.com. And you can purchase a hat there or contribute to the channel on PayPal. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you in the next video.